Hi guys, this is Shivardi. Welcome to the session on Java interview question and answers on abstract class and interface. This is going to be one of the most important topic in any of the core Java interviews. So in this session, I am going to cover most of the concepts related to the abstract class and interface with an real-time examples and when to use it, what is the main purpose and what are the differences. Okay, let us go ahead and start. So I am going to explain all these concepts using an example so that it is going to easy for you to understand. So first look at what is meant by abstract class. An abstract class is in a class which contains at least one abstract method. That means a abstract method is a method which does not have the any implementation, it just have the signature. For example, if we take a bank as a class, in this I have two methods which is called as a concrete methods. Deposit and withdrawal are the concrete. That means it has the definition. But if you see here, calculate interest, it does not have any definition in this particular bank class. So a class contains at least one abstract method is known as a abstract class. In order to say the class is a abstract, then you need to use a keyword called as an abstract. If you don't use the keyword abstract, then the compile time you are going to error saying like it is not the abstract. So the abstract method calculate interest, it needs to be defined only in the abstract class. So a class which contains at least one abstract method is known as a abstract class. Then first one is what is the use of the abstract class. By using the abstract class, you are going to achieve the abstraction. It is the one of the whoops concept. What is meant by abstraction? Abstraction is a function is a concept which is going to show the functionality by hiding the implementation details. That is known as a abstraction. So by using the abstract class, you are going to achieve partially abstraction for your class. And one more thing is the main use case when you are going to use the abstract class is you have any requirement where few set of the functionalities common across all the subclasses and few functionalities may be varying from across the subclasses. Then the common functionality you can define in the class called as abstract class, and whatever the functionality you are going to change in the subclasses, then you are going to define those methods as a abstract methods. Then what happens is when you are trying to when you are trying to extend this class in your subclasses, then though there is no need of actually implementing this existing functionality, they only need to go to implement the abstract method and they can provide their own functionality. That means by using this, you are going to achieve the code reusability. So that is the reason I am going to explain here. Let us consider a bank having the deposit and a withdrawal. Here we are providing in the abstract class with the definitions, and I have a one more method I am defined here, that is the calculate interest. It does not have any implementation at the bank. My intention is that this calculate interest might be varying from the one class to another class, so that whenever any class it is going to extend the bank, then those class will be providing the functionality here. So now let us consider I am trying to implement an HDFC bank which is going to extend the bank, that is the abstract class bank. Now what happens is HDFC already get, as it is extending the bank class, then it is already getting the functionality whatever it is defined, whatever the methods we are defining in the bank, automatically HDFC can be able to access, as HDFC is also using the same functionality what the common functionality it is provided in the bank. Then there is no need of implementing again here. And then calculate interest. Calculate interest does not provide any functionality in the abstract class. That is the reason you have to override. If you don't override, what happens? For example, I'm not going to override this method. Then you can compiler will give enforce you that, for example, I am not providing any functionality. Then what happens is the type HDFC must implement the inherited abstract method. That means you have to inherit the whatever the abstract method you are defining in the superclass. So or in the abstract class. So now what happens is the calculate interest is only implemented by the HDFC because this deposit and withdrawal already using the whatever the existing functionality from the bank class, you are going to achieve it. By using this one, you are going to reuse the code, and so that it will reduce the development cost. And similarly, ICICI is also bank also having the different implementation for the calculate interest. They can override that functionality and they can provide whatever the functionality they wanted, and still the deposit and withdrawal method it can still access. So now if you see the main method program, that is the abstract class demo, you have the main method. In this bank, now what happens is superclass replaces the subclass. So what we can do is bank HDFC is equal to new bank HDFC. Now you are creating an object for the HDFC bank. By using that, you can access the deposit method, and you can access the withdrawal method, and you can access the calculate method also, because it is inherited from the superclass, and this is also inherited from the superclass, and you are only providing the functionality for the subclass whatever you are defined in the HDFC class. Now, it is similarly, I can create an ICICI bank object. You are using the bank, the common functionality, whatever the abstract class, wherever we are provided deposit, we are using the same functionality. Withdrawal also using the superclass functionality. Calculate interest will be whatever the functionality you are defining in the calculation, that is going to be used. Now, when I run this program, you can see that the output is going to be first, common deposit method implementation across all the banks, because that is what the common method I have given for the deposit and withdrawal. So first, HDFC Bank has invoked, and it has using the superclass or the bank abstract class methods, whichever it is defined, that is deposit and withdrawal. And HDFC Bank calculate we are defining in the subclass, that is the HDFC class. Similarly for the ICS also. By using that, you can achieve the code reusability is the one concept, and second one is it reducing the development effort, because you already have the common functionality, set of functionalities are common, so that you can define them in the abstract class, and whichever it is going to be defined in whichever the methods or the behavior it is going to be differ from the one subclass to another subclass, those method you can classify or you can categorize as the abstract method, so that only those methods you are going to override in the subclasses, so that it will be improving the development efficiency. Okay, so that is the main advantage of the abstract class. First one, abstract class is a class where at least contains the at least one abstract method. And one more most important thing is you can't create an object for the abstract class, because it is not the fully implemented methods are not there in this class. That is the reason you can't create an object for the abstract class. And also it is the responsibility of the subclass which class is going to extend this abstract class, that is the responsibility of creating an instance for the superclass, that is the abstract class also. So now HDFC bank will be taking care of creating an object for the entire hierarchy. So that is the main purpose of the abstract class. Now let us go ahead and see what is meant by inheritance. Inheritance is what is meant by interface. So in the case of interface, what happens is the interface will contains complete in the case of interface, whatever the methods you are going to define, by default all are the abstract methods. That means the interface does not have any method which has the body. That means whatever the methods you are going to define in the interface, all are by default abstract. Okay, even if you don't put the keyword also, it is fine. And also all the methods you are going to define in the interface by default public. So even you know even if you specify or not specify, then by default all the methods you are declaring in the interface, now this is going to be by default abstract. And also it will be by default modifier is going to be public. And here the interface we call as a contract. What it means is like, when you say bank, you are going to provide a contract for the bank, saying like you can create any banks, but you are going to make sure that bank must have the deposit, withdrawal and calculate interest. Now once you define the contract, then whatever the subclasses which are going to implement this bank interface, they have to provide the functionality for all these methods. Okay, so interface is going to provide the contract, and now the subclasses whichever going to implement this bank interface, they have to provide the functionality for all these methods. If you don't provide the functionality for any one of the method also, it is going to throw an compile time error. It is going to give the compile time error. Now I am implementing this interface for the another class. That class is interface demo. Now if you see the interface in this class, I have the same class like a HDFC is the one class, and as SBI is another bank. I am implementing this bank interface. Now as I am implementing the bank interface having the three methods, that is deposit, withdraw, and calculate interest. Now if I don't override these methods, whatever the methods you are defining in the interface, then compiler will you enforce you to make sure that you need to override those, or you need to implement it whatever the methods you are defining in the interface. So that is the reason, once you define any methods in the interface, any class whichever it is going to implement that interface, you have to provide the implementations. Okay, that is the reason in the HDFC I override it like a deposit method I override it, and withdrawal method is override it, and calculate interest is also override. And similarly, I am implementing the SBA class. It is going to implement the bank interface. This is also. But here the key point is that if you feel that the across all the subclasses wherever you are using this bank interface does not have any correlation of these methods, that means deposit method is vary from the HDFC bank implementation to SBI bank implementation. Similarly, withdraw is also varies from the HDFC bank implementation to the ICICI bank or HDFC SBI bank implementation. Similarly, for the calculate rate of interest is also differing from each subclass. Then there is no commonality you are providing across all the subclasses. Then it is always recommended that you need to put in the interface, so that whenever you are trying to any subclass which is trying to implement this particular interface, they are going to provide their own implementation. For example, here I am just giving like a statement like HDFC deposit implementation. They have their own way, and withdrawal also it has specific to the HDFC. Calculate interest is also specific to the HDFC. For example, if you see below, it is SBI. So their deposit is going to be exclusive functionality for them. Deposit they can do it their own way, and also SBI withdrawal also their own way. Like that, when you define a contract and based on the contract, each subclass can define the functionality in their own specific way. Then that is the main advantage of the interface. Now in order to run this program, I have created like a object for the HDFC bank and SBI bank, and I'm calling the deposit because it is specific to this implementation. So what happens is it is going to call deposit of the HDFC banks, it is going to call this one, withdraw for this one, and calculate this one. When I say SBI, it is going to call the corresponding methods of it. Now when I run this program, you can see that difference is here. When you say HDFC bank, this has its own functionality or the implementation. SBI having their own implementation, even though methods are same, but the implementation is going to be different. So now the basic differences between the before we go ahead before we go at the differences, let me tell you like even for the interface also you can't create an object. Okay, so that is the thing. Now let us see the what is the basic differences between the abstract class and the interface. In the case of abstract class, you can extend only one class. That means one class is already extending. For example, if I go to the abstract class, so abstract class contains both the concrete methods and the abstract method. Concrete methods is nothing but the methods which has the definition is called as in concrete methods. The method which does not have the body is called as an abstract method. So abstract class contains both abstract methods and the concrete methods. In the case of interface, it contains only the abstract methods. And next one is In the case of abstract class, you can define the member variables. Like you can define like a non-member member variables like a number variables like private. You can define a member variables. It is simple. Private int amount, for example, equal to 0. Like that you can define. But in the case of interface, the members, there is actually no need of defining the members. But if even if you define, that is going to be a final variables. But always we don't recommend you to put these variables in the interface. But in the case of abstract class, it is like a normal class where you can provide the variables, and even you can specify the access specifiers. But in the case of interface, for the methods by default it should be public, and we are going to use the only public access specifier. And by using the interface, you can achieve the multiple inheritance. By using the interface, we can achieve multiple inheritance in the Java. But abstract class, it is not through the abstract class, it is not possible. And next one is um, in the case of interface, you does not have any methods does not have any body, but in the case of abstract class, it has a both. And then next one is um, which one is going to be the faster when we say faster, which one is going to be the faster? That means performance wise, which is the better? So performance wise, the abstract class is going to be better, because in the case of interface, what happens is the interface you are providing as a contract, and then this is going to be void to the some classes. Like here I am implementing this HDFC. From here it needs to identify what is the method. From there it needs to be executed. So hence the mapping from the implementation to the subclass, where it has taking some reflection to identify this thing and to process. Hence, abstract class is going to have the faster response, or the performance wise it is going to be high performance when compared to the interface. And then now what happens if you want to provide a new functionality, you want to add it to the abstract class, and similarly you want to add a new functionality to the bank interface. For example, if I want to add here one more functionality called get address. This is the one method I am trying to add it. Now what happens is, now I need to identify all the classes which are implemented this interface, and then I need to go there and change the implementation. That means I need to add this class implementation in the each subclass. For example, in this case what happens is HDFC Bank, it implemented the bank interface. At the same time, I see SBI Bank also it has implemented. Now I need to do is I need to add this unimplemented to the each subclass where it has got in it got implement it the subclass which it got implemented the interface. But in the case of abstract class, it is not the case. If you want to provide a new functionality, the simplest way what you can do is you can provide the method like get address, and you can provide like a empty body. That means you just create a method and provide the empty implementation. Then what happens is there is no need of changing the subclasses which are actually extending this abstract class. Now later, if subclass any class want to provide this functionality, they can simply override it in the subclass. For example, I want to add this in the bank HDFC. Then what I can do is I can just go ahead and override my functionality here. Then that's all. Now there is no need of actually more work, or no need of actually changing the subclass implementations. So that is the basic differences between the abstract class and interface. And using the interface, you are going to get 100% abstraction in Java, because interface does not have any implementation. It is only showing the functionality. It is not at all providing any implementation details. Hence, by using the interface, you are going to get 100% abstraction in the Java. By using the abstract class, partially you are going to provide the abstraction. Okay, so hope you are clear with the what is the interface, what is the abstract class, and how to use it. If you have any questions, please comment on my YouTube video, and please do subscribe to my YouTube channel to get more technical videos. Thanks for watching.